stream. I was meant to do one last night, but I got a little bit distracted and I had a friend pop round. So we'll wait for some people to come along. I'm outside on my balcony. I'm wearing a hat that's a little bit windy for my hair. But yes, welcome to Northworthy Sagas and Stories. We don't need that box in my life right over there. We'll get rid of that. Hope nobody down there. Ouch! Somebody just said. There shouldn't be. There'll be a trespasser in my garden. Make sure the Thor's hammer looks good. Yeah, so I'm going to attempt in the future to do a regular live stream every day. I think that's the only way I can do live streams. And then on the occasional day where I'm probably busy or get distracted by things or life, if I'm going out for some beers, for instance, or this is a very rare thing. I don't often go out for beer. So we'll see if anybody joins the live stream. Oh, hello, we've got somebody watching. Brilliant. Now, can we see the comments? Live chat, there we go. No. So, hello. Thank you for joining the stream. Thank you for leaving the stream. My name is Braggy. I am indeed a Norse warrior, or a Viking, as I most often call myself. But I've got to get to the habit, really, of calling myself a Norse warrior and not a Viking. And today I'm in my modern civilian clothes. Not that Viking clothing is a uniform. And I'm wearing a nice cowboy hat, which I've got to do a bit of work on in the future. Because it used to have a bit of a lip round it, and I unpicked it at some point. In fact, there's still a load of thread in the hat. So it's another job for another day, and then maybe go around the edge and sort that cowboy hat out and actually give it a dust as well and a clean. But it does fit me nice. Oh, we've got 2 people watching, so do say hello and don't forget to like the live stream. I hope this audio is not too bad for you, because I'm sitting on my balcony outside of my upstairs, what used to be the studio, where back in the day me and Eggle used to film. And today is a Q&A live stream. We'll see how many people we get joining along, and I'm just testing out to see what sort of an audience we can get at 6 o'clock in the evening, Greenwich Mean Time. But do say hello. Let's see if we can't adjust the phone and move it a bit more forward. Hang on a minute. But then I can lean back then and relax a bit more. But yeah, it's lovely to see you here. So hello. Do please leave a comment, like the live stream. If you don't know who we are, we like our history and our storytelling. Plus we also, you know, will dance on camera and do funny things and export videos from TikTok. So yes. And of course, if I start doing regular live streams, I'm going to also start using the community post, or maybe make a video in the daytime, just like saying, you know, oh, don't forget folks, tonight we'll be doing a live stream in the vertical format, because they tend to get a lot of views compared to the vertical format. And I've already put out 3 videos today. It's a little bit less than normal. I mean, that's probably, in my mind, the right amount of videos to put out is probably 2 or 3 a day. So, oh, hello, somebody else has joined. I'm indeed a Viking, or in this case, I'm wearing a cowboy hat, but we are a history channel. I'm going to be repeating myself now a lot. Hello, somebody else has joined. Hello. So, do leave a comment, say hello. Where are you from? I'm from England, Derby. And I'm sitting outside. Here, oh, Iric. Oh, hey, brother, just popping by before I settle for blooming work. Dough. Dough is the correct way of saying dough. Oh, whoa. Are you on a night shift tonight? Or are you starting work or finishing work? Or are you settling after work? Anyway, thanks for the support you gave me today, brother. And, you know, say no more. But And I need a shave as well. Oh, never mind. But I'm just testing to see what live streams are like at 6 o'clock in the evening. And of course, in the winter time, it'll be too dark outside to come and film unless I put a load of lights out and shine up the whole balcony. But then it'll be probably too cold as well. But yeah, so Ike says I'm on a 5 a.m. starting in the morning, so I need my beauty sleep. No, I don't think you need your beauty sleep. You know, as a Viking, you're good enough looking already, but it's very important you do settle down. And probably like me, you know, it takes you a little bit of time to settle down and to fall asleep. Would that be the same back in the, you know, the medieval times? Did it take them a couple of hours to fall asleep? And also, you know, did the Norse warriors and the Saxons also suffer, some of them, from insomnia? Yes. So who knows? You have your heathen army behind you, brother. Well, thank you very much. Skell to you. And thanks for being a really good friend and a good brother. And of course, you know, if you're new to the channel, you know, you too could be my Norse brother. You may not have to be Norse, you could be from any background. But we are one big family on here. And we do have a lovely audience. And, you know, I'm so thankful for the fact that we have this lovely audience. You know, in a couple of months we should be hitting 10,000 views, which I think, no, well, sorry, 10,000 subscribers. Good God, I thought to myself, oh Jesus, we've only got 10,000 views. No, we're about to hit 3 million views. We did lose a few views when I took down the Keir Starmer videos I made at the beginning of the year, which did get fantastic growth, but I think it slightly alienated some of the regular audience, which I apologise for. And you know, I didn't want to take the channel down a political route, but it did serve a purpose. But I've not made any more since, and those videos have all been unlisted. And you know, you could talk all day about Keir Starmer, really, but let's not. You know, what would Keir Starmer make a good Viking? He'll probably make a good Norman, to be fair. But no, I don't think he would make a good Norse warrior, because Norse warriors have, you know, honour and they have respect and they don't lie and they tell the truth and they don't annoy people. Well, perhaps they annoy the Saxons and perhaps they may annoy, you know, the Franks and other people. But yeah, so that's a whole different debate. So we've got 2 people watching now, so come to please say hello in the comments. And tell me how you are and where you come from in the world, because I'm always interested to hear where our audiences come from. Because most of our audience on this channel is 91% male dominated. So it'd be really lovely to find a good shield maiden to join me on the channel and to have a female host on the channel. That's something I've always aspired to, but not quite found anybody to do that with so far. But I'm hunting and looking, but for somebody to join on the channel, because it's fun. Making YouTube content is a fun thing. It is a wonderful experience, and you know, if you got yourself a channel, which most people do have a channel, if you're, you know, on YouTube, although I'd be quite interested to know the statistics when it comes to how many people watch, don't have a membership, are not a member of YouTube, and how many people are. I suppose it's quite high that the majority of percentage of people will have a, you know, will have joined YouTube and have a Google account, but there's always a few people that don't. And I see this in videos a lot. I watched a channel called The Diary of the SCO, you know, and he talks at always at the beginning of the videos, he always says, well, you know, 65% of our audience are not subscribed to us. But it makes you think how many of that 65 percentage, you know, are not actually having a Google account. So Iric says, so kit update, my new helmet was due to be delivered yesterday. A copy of the Djali helmet, and I hope I pronounced that right. I do know the helmet. The seller is associated with a certain seller with an ill repute that I've both had issues with. Haha. Well, you're not bought on Maxing Armories, have you? That is why, if you do, my number 1 tip if you buy kit is to do it on a credit card. Because you think about it, yeah, it's a bit of a pain in the arse to go and have a credit card. But if you go and spend, you know, £200 on a helmet, and after 3 months you don't get your helmet, at least you got that 3-month window to go to your bank and say, look, I bought this item, and you message the seller first, say, look, if I don't get the item, I'm going to go back to my bank. I pay for it on a credit card so I can get the money back and refund me, and then you'll lose the sale. So that can spur the seller on to get your helmet and the item sent to you. And then if you have a credit card, then what you should be doing, you're going to go and buy it, say, a helmet and a sword. It's £400. You transfer the £400 over, you pay on your credit card, and it's the same with so many things like buying a holiday. It's another good way of doing it. So it was not directly from Max in Armories, but it's a member of his training group. Well, I'm sure you'll get it. I mean, when I got in that situation with Maxim, when I wasn't getting 2 helmets and a Langsax, I kind of got to the point where I kept on messaging him, and I kind of saying, well, if you don't, and I shouldn't have to do this as a buyer, but I kind of said to him, well, if I don't get my money back, I'm just going to take you to small claims court. And immediately after that, I got the Langsax on one helmet, and then he took a little bit I got the Langsax first of all, and then he took a little bit of time to get the helmet, but he sent me 2 helmets. He sent me an extra one, which is really big, which I don't know whether he sent it, as a way of making up, or whether he sent it because he realised that there was 2 people on the channel, and the bigger helmet with Egil Thorson, the late and great channel host, having a bigger head. Whether he, so basically I got a free helmet out of it, and one's got full mail, and one's got just mail around the side of the head. But the one that's too big is really too big for my head. So I'm really looking forward in the future to going to one of the re-enactment markets. I think they're down Coventry way. Perhaps we could sort it out next year, you come and pop up for a few days, and then me and you will go down and spend a bit of coin, and because I'm definitely going to spend a little bit of money and look for a Sutton Hoo helmet. I need a good kite shield, and to buy some earlier kit for the early Anglo-Saxons, and just invest a bit of money so that we can do other things on the channel when it all comes to other than Vikings. But yes, but you have to be careful who you do buy things from. Did you see tonight's video, Iric? Have you watched it yet? Or no, I put out where I'm crafting something, a very unusual video for the channel, because in all 8 years, which is coming up on the 10th of July, is our 8-year anniversary. Throughout all that time, I never did any crafting videos because I'm a little bit embarrassed about it. I'm a little bit lack of confidence, and somebody who will remain nameless did try to encourage me to do some crafting videos, but I just found it a little bit too difficult because they said to me, oh, why don't you do a video where you're carving something? So those sort of videos take a little bit of organisation, and you can see it behind me. It's just down there. Is where I'm doing it, down there. So the club's still down there, and I think so far I've filmed 6 episodes. I think number 5 before I was on a wood horse using a draw knife. But I used my wood horse the other day to sit on for a film, and I noticed that one of the legs was broken off. So I'm going to have to repair that. But that can be another video where I repair and make a couple of legs. And then I'm probably just going to use some modern screws or some modern nails just to fasten up a cross piece. So I got 2 legs of a cross piece, which will be, I'll get a bit of wood and I'll axe it in half, and then just get a draw knife and put a flat edge on it. So that'll be another video. And I do have the wood to make a mallet. So if I'm going to make a mallet, I'm going to make at least 2 of them. So Iric, you're going to have a mallet coming your way, because I still have a box of stuff. I found it again the other day to send down to you, and every time I keep finding this box of stuff for you, because it's got a few books and a few other things in there for you, Iric, it keeps getting a little bit bigger and a little bit bigger. But at some point, when I pull my finger out my arse, I'm going to, old country saying is that, I'm going to send it to you, and we can, then you'll have a few useful bits from Northworthy, and if I can find you something of Eggles, I'm going to send you something of Eggles as well. So you got that, you can wear that on your kit and have that bit of memory. So I'm drinking a bit of orange aid because I'm thirsty and I don't have a wooden cup or a drinking vessel. There's one of the things about doing live streams, especially if you do one for 4 or 5 hours, and I've always said and promised that one day, and it may be soon, I'm going to attempt to do a 24-hour live stream. You know, I'm going to have loads of coffee, and no doubt throughout that 24 hours of live streams, and don't forget, guys, to like the video and share it as well. I'm going to attempt to do a 24 hours Viking live stream. Another series I'm currently working on, I'm doing a 7-day chainmail challenge, where so 7 days in 1 week. You know, starting on a Monday, of course. It's always a good day to start in a week. I'm going to go out and put my mail on. You know, I'm going to get out of bed. I'm not going to put my chainmail or my whole book on in bed because it'll probably get a bit you know, mucky and oily. I'm going to go out and in my garden, and you know, if I had somebody to go with, I'll probably go to like Tesco's in my Viking suit without any weapons. But yeah. So Eric says, I've watched the video and it was very refreshing. And that is a video out tonight at 5 o'clock. It's been out for about an hour or more, and it's a good, I think it's a good 20 minutes long, maybe 24 minutes. I forget now, maybe 18 minutes. No, it may be 16 minutes, I forget. Anyway, I'm crafting a wooden club, and I got a massive old bit of cherry, you know, a good branch, and you'll see me using an axe. So that could be a beginning of something new for the channel. And, you know, maybe, you know, I'm definitely going to make a hat. I'm going to make, definitely sounds, thinking, you know, about, oh, I got a message from Paul Farrer, one of my old friends. Now, you don't know this, Eric, but Paul is on about coming on the channel. And me and Paul, I think you talked to Paul on the channel before. He's on about popping up to see me for a week and spending a week with me, which would be really nice, a bit of company from one of my old re-enactment friends. And I said to him, well, why don't you come up and we could do some filming, but you're going to need a Viking name. So I suggested that, you know, he takes the name Thorolf out of respect of the old friend of the channel, Tetto Sagas, whose Viking name was Thorolf. And then Paul, he comes from the Isle of Man. So he said, well, can I call myself Thorolf of Man? You know, Thorolf, depending how you pronounce it, Thorolf. So he's going to call himself Thorolf of Man. And actually, the other day when I made a Day of the Cat video, I put him in as a character. And I'm having a slight bit of respect to Tetto Sagas, who was a fantastic cook. I mean, I can remember one time, I'll tell you a little story about him. This guy, he was a big guy. I'll tell you 2 stories. I went to a McDonald's with him once. Now, you know, I love a McDonald's now and again, a very rare treat. You know, I had a Big Mac and I had a cheeseburger, fries and a drink. Well, Thorolf, big guy, he had, 2 lots of Big Macs. He had a quarter pounder and about 5 or 6 double cheeseburgers, and then went back for some more. Because that guy could eat, but he was a fantastic cook. And I remember one time, because I used to meet up with him, and he'll pick me up and we'll go round to see Tirkir, or we'll go and, go for a walk about, the local park and do various things and have a chat and hang out. And we went to a Chinese once. I said, well, I'm hungry, said Andy. He said, do you want to go and get some Chinese food? And they said, there's a really good Chinese in Derby. Let's go there. So, was in his car. He was driving. Went to the Chinese. And he could speak fluent Mandarin and Chinese, which is the language, isn't it? And so, he went in. And I don't think he's been to this Chinese, but he wanted to take me to a Chinese he doesn't normally go to. They said hello to him in English, and he started speaking back to him in Mandarin, and it was like an amazing experience because he got all this lovely food ordered, which isn't normally on the menu. He said, can you make this and can you make that for me? Because I've been to China and I really love Chinese food, but I like proper Chinese food and not what you get at a takeaway. So they made him all this wonderful Chinese food simply because he could speak pure Mandarinese or Mandarin, and that was a lovely experience. And of course, Teto passed away in 2020. A much missed friend of mine. So there's a little bit of a story. So Iric says, I have a video in the works for making a re-enactment shield. Is anybody is interested in watching that? Well, yes, we would be very interested in watching that. Because if you want me to edit it for you and send it back to you for your own channel, then let me know as well. And I'm truly honoured, brother. If you want to cover the cost of the postage, just let me know. No, I don't want you to cover the postage, my friend. It's not going to cost a great deal of money. I'll send it recorded delivery. If it costs me a tenner, it costs me a tenner. But for that day, when I got a tenner in my wallet, that's your money to be sent down. And I keep meaning to do it, but I'm just not brilliantly organised in life to, have my life skills organised enough to get the box ready yet. But I found it again the other day as I'm tidying up the house and trying to sort it out, because I'm trying to set up a wargaming room where I can get back into the hobby, but I also want to record the journey of somebody that used to do a lot of wargaming. And you may be new to the channel and you may not know what wargaming is. You're probably thinking, well, is he going out shooting people with a gun? No, wargaming is miniature tabletop gaming, and most people would have heard of Warhammer, but it's going to be a mixture of Warhammer, and it's going to be a mixture of scenery making, but also going to be a mixture of historical wargaming. And I quite fancy, recreating like some of the famous battles, like the Battle of Hastings, and reading up on the battles and recreating them on the tabletop and simulating what would happen. Learning some roles and filming some series for that in the future. But gaming and wargaming has played a big part, but because I've not done it for probably, I don't know, anywhere between 6 and maybe 10 years, really, maybe a bit less. Yeah, trying to think. It'll be well before the pandemic, so I've not done any wargaming for a good few years, and in a big scale. So that's something I also want to introduce to the channel. So in the future, I will try to schedule these videos, and I think one way of doing it, instead of putting a community post out, which is probably sometimes I'm probably dominating the community post and the notifications with too many things, because if I put out too many videos, there's only, I think in belief, there's only so many notifications you get a day and a week on YouTube. But I don't know, is that a myth? I don't know. I wish there was some vodka or some rum in there, but I'm not that lucky. Oh, I've got 2 people watching. Hello to whoever, somebody's just joined. I am Braggy. This is Northworthy Sagas and Stories. Although I tend to use the word Northworthy, or I tend to use Northworthy Sagas and not use the and stories too much, because it's a little bit long-winded. It does sound great, Northworthy Sagas and Stories, but I think Northworthy or Northworthy Sagas, it's just a little bit better. And then the other day I saw a channel called Noseworthy Bowl. What's the name of one of those people that sing songs? I don't know whether it's been inspired by our name. Oh, it'll come back to me later on when I don't need to know. Oh yes. So this morning I watched the last 2 episodes of Clarkson Farm. I really enjoyed that series. I mean, we're on series 4 now, and I must say, I mean, I like Jeremy Clarkson. He's a fantastic individual, and he's very outrageous, and he's got such a dry sense of humour. He would have made a great Norse warrior, would Jeremy Clarkson. I don't read his newspaper articles, but I know he's a journalist as well. I think he's got an article every week in the Mail, if I'm correct, but I'm not certain. I don't tend to read newspapers. They mostly end up being scrunched up and put on my fire at winter to start a fire on my log burner. But yeah, I really enjoyed season 4. And we had a lady farmer from Derbyshire called Harriet, So that was quite good to see. Actually, I was a good farmer. But it must be a very tough life if you're farming. But has it really changed, you know, in 1,000 years or more? Because farming has always been tough. They've always had the same problem to deal with. Well, yeah, you know, you go back to the Anglo-Saxon times or the Vikings or Norse, they didn't have combine harvesters and tractors. You had a horse and a cart and maybe a plough, because they did have ploughs back in the day. And later on, through the medieval ages, the plough developed and became bigger and stronger. But they must have still had the same problems as modern farmers had, because, you know, if it's too damp and your wheat's not dry enough, then you can't harvest it. And it makes you think, how would they know that the wheat and the rye and the barley is dry enough to cut? Because in modern farmers, you see it on Clarkson Farm, he's got a device like a black rectangular box, and it's got a chamber where you put the wheat and then you grind it up with a handle, and it must grind it up and give you a reading on the moisture level, and it's got to be normally under about 14.5. But how would they know back in the day? Well, I think it would be passed down knowledge, and a farmer that's been around, you know, would have been taught as a young age from his father, he would have been a farmer, and his grandfather would have been a farmer, so it's passed down knowledge. But of course, these days we have technology to do it. So if you've got any questions or you want me to answer any questions, it's what this live stream is about. I keep having problems with the live stream. When I try to set one up, it's getting the difference between the horizontal live stream and the vertical live stream. Because I keep putting it in the vertical and not the horizontal, and it keeps telling me, oh, you can't live stream yet because you've got to change the rotation of your phone. So I've had to exit the live stream, end the live stream, and start another live stream. Because I'm not used to doing live streams, I think I've done, in the last year, I've done 4 live streams. This is number 5, or number 6 if you count the one I deleted the other day by mistake. But yeah, but a live stream is also a very good way to connect with the audience, but it also, from our point of view, it is a great way for us to build up watch time to get those 4,000 hours. And then I did start a shop this week. I've got to give you an update on this because I kind of messed up, because I selected America as my when I put in my payment details, I selected the wrong country, and apparently you got to start a new one, so I'm gonna have to do it all over again and start a new fourth wall shop and do all the designs again. So that's a bit of a frustration. It's my fault, you know, slap myself on the wrist. I wasn't really concentrating. I selected the box too quickly, and I selected the wrong country for my fourth wall merchandise shop. So I've had to disconnect it today so I can restart and make another one. And over the next few days, if I've got the energy and the time, which I probably will have, I will create a new shop. It's a bit of an hassle, because I probably spent 5 to 10 hours working on it, and now I've got to go through all that again. Yeah, but that's life, isn't it? We make mistakes, and hopefully when you make a mistake, you know, whether it's in, you know, a friendship with a friend, or whether it's at work, or you make a mistake if you're out and, you know, you go shopping and you go, you know, the amount of times I've gone shopping, you think, oh yeah, I've got to go to the shop and I need to buy this or I need to buy that. And you go to the shop and I forget, oh, you know, you go, oh, blooming hell, I forgot to go and get some eggs, or oh, I didn't buy any milk. So when you make a mistake in life, we learn from that mistake, and hopefully the next time you do in that situation, you don't make that mistake. I say, do please stay when you do come and join the live stream. Perhaps you want me to dress as a Viking more on the live streams. This is one of these impromptu, spontaneous live streams I thought I'd do to make up for last night when I was meant to do one last night. I did one in the morning, but I got so yeah, and I'm definitely going to attempt to do a live stream every day from now on. As long as I got my videos out, then and I got that spare time. Plus it'll get me away from watching too much TV as well. I need to relax like most people. Oh, hello again. Well, welcome. Please leave a comment, say hello. You know, it is free to say hello on this channel. It does not cost any money to say hello. And don't forget to also like the video. Let's get number 2 likes, please. Come on, 2 likes. I mean, this is a problem when I don't advertise the live streams. So I got to address this in the future. And, you know, I was thinking about it the other day. I was lying in bed thinking, well, perhaps I should make a community post. But I think what I'm going to do is create a shorts video to advertise the live stream beforehand. So you got a few hours notice. I think that's the way forward. I think what I'll do, I'm going to create a poll, and I know that most people, when I made a poll the other day about how people watch, because you know you can watch it for your, you know, your games box, your Xbox or PlayStation. You can watch it on your mobile phone. You can watch it on your desktop or tablet, and also your TV. But I think the majority of people on this channel watch the content through the mobile phone. And of course, you have to think about your thumbnails with mobile phones, because on a mobile phone, the thumbnail's way smaller and the text is way smaller as well. So hello, you know, how are you? Somebody else has joined. Please do leave a comment. Please say hello. Give it a like. Subscribe to the channel. You're probably thinking, who's this weird guy with long blonde hair? And I did dye it the other week. I dyed my hair. I went for a bit lighter blonde. I would really love to get a really bright blonde, but I can never seem to get the right dye. Perhaps because I'm buying cheap dyes from Pound Shop for, you know, 99p or whatever it is. And, you know, so I would love to go a bit brighter. But I did dye my hair the other week. I was doing it while I was watching a TV programme called Northern Exposure, which I can remember watching in the 90s, but I can't remember any episodes. But I'm on season 2 now, and I must say I really enjoyed it. It's a really good TV show, and I love a bit of TV. But I don't tend to watch more modern programmes. I tend to watch more nostalgia, old programmes from the 80s and 90s, sometimes the 70s. I started the other day watching The Sweeney, and I don't ever recall watching The Sweeney before, but I must say I watched the first episode and I really enjoyed it. And you may be asking yourself, if you're watching this later on, well, Braggy, or Andy, as my real name, what's The Sweeney? I've never heard of The Sweeney. Is it related to Sweeney Todd? You know, that's famous murderer in Victorian England, used to cut people up and put them in his pies. Well, no, The Sweeney was a 1970s cop show, and I think the base around the CID, but I'm not overly certain. But I did watch the first episode, and I must say, really enjoyed it. So we've got 3 people watching. So fantastic! Oh, 2 people watching. Oh, I'm sad now. Oh God, give it a like. Make it old. Oh, got 1 person watching now. Oh, cool, blimey. But we you know, we're 30 minutes in, so that's wonderful. Oh, 2 people watching. I might just stay on the live stream every time somebody joins to go, oh, somebody else joined, and just say that for a live stream. Oh, we've got 3 people watching now. But so this is a questions and answers video. So you want to ask any questions? We've got 3 people watching. You know, well, you know, you can ask the question of how many people will be watching the live stream in 5 minutes. I don't know if I can predict it. I'm going to say 2 people in 5 minutes will be watching this live stream. I think what I've got to do is go to my settings and actually do my SEO as well for the live stream settings. But I'll have to think about that and how you do that. But I'm trying to improve my SEO, but because I can be a bit lazy when it comes to content, when it comes to things like SEO. But then again, you know, I go around and I do my SEO for videos, and it doesn't always get results. Some days it does. It's definitely different when it compared to the shorts format, because you can put out a daft 10-second short video of, you know, from TikTok where you get a filter going across, and you know, you're changing to something old, and that may get 5,000 views. And you spend, you know, a whole afternoon filming a long format. You know, you spend 3 hours editing it, and you only get 100 views. So it does differ, of course, every time you know, on SEO, which is search engine optimization. And I'm wearing a hat because it's cold out, and you're going to get to the point in the evening when you start getting all these little midges flying about. I get it when I often do filming at this time of night, and so I'm in my Viking Norse kit, and I get to the point where it's getting a bit dark, but not dark enough to film. It's still light enough, but the midges come out, and then I start itching because the bloody midges are in the air. You know, little flies, and they hover about. Oh, they're very annoying. I think they've been annoying people since the time of, you know, we began as human beings on this planet. You know, human beings came about just after the midges and the little irritating flies. So, if you've got any questions, anybody, you got to ask me. You know, you can ask me anything. You know, I'm pretty certain I could answer most questions, unless it's a really, you know, specific question, whereas I may not be able to answer. I don't have another phone accessible at the moment to go on, you know, Google AI, you know, Gemini, and ask that question. Well, that's a long pause. So just seeing anybody else joins. Yeah, maybe 6 o'clock at night isn't the best time of day either, because, you know, probably people are probably having a dinner and coming back from work or travelling. Maybe you know, you may be at the gym. You could be down the pub. Oh, you are lucky. You've been down the pub having beer. Oh, I can only dream of that. There's a small chance I could have some beer tonight, but very small. But I'm definitely going to do some of the. When I used to do live streams on a regular basis, I used to do you know, 4 or 5 hours of live streaming, and I do have the phone connected to a charger, so it shouldn't die on me. But I do have the ability for longer. It's 7%. That's useful to know, that is. So I do have the ability to plug it into the mains, but as long as you cut all your apps down and you make sure nothing's bleeding your battery, then you can do 4 or 5 hours. So I think having to go at doing a 24-hour challenge live stream is going to be difficult until I get a better phone where the battery is not going to die on me. Because certainly this phone is an S20 Samsung, so it's 5 years old, and I certainly noticed the difference in the battery compared to the other one I did have, but I don't have at the moment because I can't find it. Yeah, I lost it in the house. It died on me, and I lost my phone. Right, anybody got any questions? You know, you could ask me about, you know, the trees behind me. Oh, what's that tree, Broggy? You know, or you could ask me about my hat. Or what's this I'm wearing around my neck? Well, this is a Thor's hammer and Majonia. A lot of people, I see a lot of people on TikTok that don't quite get the pronunciation of this correct. So it's Majonia, it's got an MJ, Majonia. I mean, I'm probably slightly butchering it myself, to be fair. But I think it's always good to have a go and try to get it as accurate in the pronunciation as you can. But of course, if you're Danish or you may be Norwegian or Swedish or Icelandic, so you're going to be pronouncing Majonia different because of your language. It's quite interesting. I watched a video how, you know, the different Scandinavian cultures pronounce Thor or Odin or Loki, and there is a difference. If we ever find that video again, I'm going to share it on the community page one day, because I watched it, and it's about, there's all these women, there's about 5 or 6 of them sitting around, and then a guy behind the camera was saying, well, how do you say Thor in Norwegian? You know, it'd be Thor or Thor. And you know, how do you say Loki? So someone said Loki, it'd be Loki. So they have different pronunciations depending where you're from in Scandinavia. And then we had a very interesting comment about burqa the other day. There was somebody was saying that I think it's either in Swedish or Norwegian, it's pronounced birche. And then I think somebody from Poland or an Eastern European country saying, well, burqa is actually the name for sheep. So I found that to be quite fascinating. So it's always great when you get comments and you learn something. But then you got to remember now and record it in the future when you're at that very moment in time when you need to say, oh yes, actually, you know, in Scandinavia and Norway they pronounce burqa birche. But yeah, fascinating. So we've got nobody watching. I can have some silence for a bit. Go to sleep. I can start doing them. I could do live streams where I go to bed and you watch me sleep. People actually do that, really. I mean, it's a little bit random, isn't it? And what's the attraction, I mean, of watching somebody sleep? I suppose if it was a very good-looking woman, there's probably attraction there for a lot of men. But I just don't see the attraction. It's slightly annoying that some of these videos get high views, but you're basically watching somebody go to bed for 8 hours. I mean, what's all that about? What a crazy world we live in. And we do, you know, there are some very unusual live streams. I watched quite a few of these live streams when people buy scratch cards, you know, like from the lottery, and they you know, spend, you know, £100 and buy 50 scratch cards, and then they scratch them off and see how much money they win. That's always quite fascinating. You can see the appeal for that if you're into scratch cards. And then I watched 1 or 2 live streams I've seen where people go and buy like £100 or £200 worth of £2 coins or 50p's, and then they go through them one at a time to see whether they get any special 50p's or £2 coins. But is that something in other countries? Do other countries have that where they got special coins, or is it just in the UK? I'd love to know that. Again, if I remember at the right point in time, I'll ask you know, maybe Gemini and have a word with her about it. And I'm always excited whenever I get change and there's a special 50p in my change, and I'm like, oh, I'm saving that. I've got to think about the dinner. I don't know what I'm going to have yet. I might have steak and chips with some onion rings. But I don't know whether to cook it in my air fryer or in my oven. Just a few months ago, I bought a really big air fryer. It wasn't cheap, but I managed to get a really good deal. But I think normally they're about, the one I got was a German-made air fryer. I think they're normally about 170 quid. But I saw some of them reduced down to £70. But then I saw one that had a damaged box for 50 quid. So I thought, oh, I'm going to buy that because I quite fancy an air fryer. And I must say, I'm quite impressed. You know, you put some chips in the air fryer, or some chicken nuggets, you know, some burgers, whatever you want to cook. It is quicker than the oven. And I imagine an air fryer is probably cheaper to run than an oven when it comes to gas. I'd love to know whether an air fryer is cheaper than an electric oven. That's a whole other thing I've not really thought about that. But, you know, what an amazing technology. And then the other day on YouTube, there was a video from, I think, the BBC. They put a video out from a series about how things are made. And this woman, no idea her name, can't remember, she basically did a whole hour episode about the air fryer and, you know, who invented it. I think it was invented by a German guy, and you saw the first prototype, and you basically, they went to the Philips factory and they showed you all the different air fryers. It's amazing how many different air fryers you can get, and certainly Philips, the electrical company, they make quite a few, you know, different sizes. So air fryers, you know, it's definitely something I'm never going to do on the channel. Do a beef. Oh, I think I went offline then. Shock. Oh, I went offline, but back on again. Does that mean it's going to be another video? I'm probably slightly away from the modem. I really need to think about moving my modem in the house and have it localised in the centre of the house rather than over there, you know, 10 metres away. Although, weirdly, I do have a booster that came with it, and that reminds me, I've got to update my broadband package because I've gone out of contract. It's just reminding myself about that. Oh, I have to think about that. And then this morning, I woke up this morning about 6 o'clock, and I thought to myself, you know, I went back to sleep again, or I'm still tired. So I went to bed about midnight last night. So I woke up at 8 o'clock and I thought to myself, oh, it's Saturday. Oh, what a great day. I love Saturdays. You know, Saturdays to me was, you know, doing some wargaming and putting a war film on. I spent so many of my Saturdays doing that. I then looked at my phone, and to my horror and surprise, it was Friday and not Saturday. So, you know, I can't even get organised enough in my life to figure out what day it is. You know? I mean, if you ever introduce an 8-day to the week, I'll be screwed. You know? What would we call an 8th day of the week? It'd have to be a day off work, wouldn't it? Let's face it. We'd always be working 6 days a week. So having another... I mean, how does that work? You'd have to divide the year between, you know, weeks of 8. But that'd be fascinating. You could have three days off at the weekend. I'll be up for that. I'll be up for an 8-day week, because you could have 3 days off at the weekend and 5 days working. That's not a bad motor, is it? That's not bad. You know, but why is it 7 days? And why not 6 days of the week? And of course, quite a few of the days of the week are named after the Norse gods. You know, Monday and, you know, Frigg, Tuesday, Tears Day, Wednesday, Rodin's Day, or Rodin or Wotan, the All-Father. Thursday is Thor's Day, the god of thunder, or Thunar, to the Anglo-Saxons. And Friday, of course, is Freya, Day of Love. So Saturday is named after the Romans, Saturn's Day. And Sunday is Sun, the day of the sun, so sun is, you know, so Sunday. But it would be interesting if we had 8 days of the week. I mean, how many weeks would we have in a year? About 40, 42 weeks? Oh, I'd be quite interested to calculate it when I get in. But then we could have 3 days at the weekend off. Yeah, I'm up for that. Yeah. Are you up for having 8 days in a week? I may have invented something here, guys. We've invented having a new weekly system of having 8 days in the week, 5 days at work, and 3 days off. Oh, just think of the fun we could have. You know, 3-day weekend. I have a comment here from Sam Stapleton. It says, I made it, brother. Oh, lovely to see you, Sam. What time is it where you are? It's got to be round about just gone noon, I'd imagine. In Texas. And I'm wearing my Texas cowboy hat today. Yeehaw! It's amazing how many people don't know how to do a yeehaw. You know, you go, yeehaw. It's not, you've got to put a bit of emphasis. It's a yeehaw. Yeah, I thought it'd be around about 1 o'clock. Yeah, because it must be heading towards 7 o'clock now, so it must be just gone 7 o'clock. Because I started this around about 12 minutes past 6 o'clock in the evening. Have you seen today's long format video, Sam? You may be interested in it. Of course, don't go now and watch it, because I'm on a live stream. And I'll be left with one person again. Oh, don't forget to like the live stream as well. I'm rubbish at sharing things. I am trying on Facebook. I joined quite a few groups earlier, and I did share the other day one of the video from yesterday on a folklore group with 1.2 million people, but I don't think they've allowed it to be shared. So if anybody can really help the channel, you know, if you're watching this afterwards, if you can really help the channel by sharing the videos, you know, if you go in the, you know, if you go in our back catalogue and there's a long format video, especially then, you could share those videos more. That would really help the channel to get to our 4,000 hours of watch time, so that we can become monetarised, and I can make a few little pounds a year to fund the channel, because it's not cheap running a YouTube channel. And I dread to think the amount of hours I put in. You know, you're talking tens of thousands of hours of time I put into this channel, and I've loved every minute of it. I mean, I've had times when I burnt myself out. You know, I've been working so hard that I've had to have time off. But I try to, you know, pace myself and have videos in hand, so that if I need to have a day where I don't need to be working on videos, I've got some ready to go, so I can just put out some videos. And then now and again I may have a day where I don't put no videos out, just to give you guys a rest to catch up. So if you see a day where there's no videos out, it's just a catch-up day for the subscribers and the fans, because I know that at some point, you know, you probably get, you know, you probably have that many notifications. You know, oh, Braggy's put out 8 videos today on 4 community posts. That's 12 things. You know, so I guess it can be too much. but I don't do things by half. I never have done in life. I always go full in. So I will definitely check it out. I'm still here at work. Yeah, it's the first of a series, of a crafting series, and I'm not finished the series yet, but I'm thinking about every Friday to put the next video out. Because I thought about, well, I could do it over 6 or 7 days, but I think I'm going to let the video build up and do it over a, you know, it's going to be a 6 week to 2 month, because I've not finished it yet. It's down there behind me. I've got to film some more. So, and I asked a question yesterday about fighting swords in a red urgent urine, that you heard this. Yeah, I did see the comment and I did reply, and I don't think I've heard of that, but I definitely have heard of blacksmiths using urine to quench swords, and that's a fascinating, interesting question, because urine is sort of, you know, I mean, like I can remember that film about the fastest Indian, where a guy from New Zealand was racing an Indian bike, and he went to America to race it in the desert in Nevada. And in that beginning of the video, you see him like having a wee by a lemon tree, because apparently, you know, urine is a very good feed for plants, apparently. And Sam says, and you looked and smashing in that hat. Oh, I sure do. I mean, it keeps my head warm and keeps the midges away and the little irritating flies that pop out at this time of night. But I do need to go around the edge and edge it, and perhaps think about re-steaming it and get it a bit more solid, and it could do with a bit of a wash down and a bit of a scrub of a brush. But I've had this hat for many years. It's not a bad hat. It's got a bit of a lining in it, and I just love a cowboy hat. But I very rarely would wear it in town or Derby, because I just feel too conscious about wearing a cowboy hat, because I think it makes you stick out too much. But perhaps as I get older, when I grow a beard in my later age, where I'm not so bothered about the way I look, I probably would wear it more. But I just think cowboy hats are just a wonderful thing, and you know, you can spend a lot of money on a cowboy hat, and I do love cowboy culture. I mean, I've had lots of friends over the years that do cowboy reenacting, and it always looks fun. You know, I think I would have made a good cowboy. You know, get me a peacemaker, or maybe 2. If I was going to be a cowboy, you know, I'm going to have like 2 peacemakers and probably an army cult, maybe a navy, and you know, maybe one of those little tiny guns you can put in your sock or your pocket, just in case. You never know. So I'll definitely go over the top like I do as a Viking, and have probably 2 to 3 pistols at least. But it does make you think, you know, what is the average number of pistols a cowboy would carry? Would he carry 1 or 2? I'd love to know that question. I think the average would be probably 1 in my mind. But of course, I'm not a cowboy in real life, and I know a little bit about, you know, cowboys, mainly from watching Clint Eastwood films and cowboy films. I love a good cowboy film now and again. I definitely go through stages in my life where I watch a lot of cowboy films, because I just get that nostalgia feeling when perhaps in the past life I may have been a cowboy, I don't know. But I just think, you know, The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, what a great film that is. And for a few dollars more. And it's not only that, it's the music by Ennio Morricone. Oh, fantastic. That just makes, you know, the Cowboys films. And Sam says, sorry about my spelling being shit. Well, join the club. I mean, one of the problems I've found recently with the comments is that I can't, when I put a comment in and I reply to a comment, I'm not getting any spelling mistakes highlighted in red. I have to go back and click edit, and then when I click edit, it highlights any spelling mistakes. You know, I'm only human. I'm going to make spelling mistakes now and again. And sometimes I do use AI to reply to comments, and then I just edit those videos. So, but it does make it a little bit easier and a little bit quicker for me to reply using AI as a model to base the comments on, and then I'll just slightly change them if need be. Because, you know, on YouTube, time is money, because you only got so many hours a day to film videos, and you've only got you know, so much time to edit videos and so forth, and it all takes time. So I made stainless steel feathers for a cowboy hat. I did a video on one of these for my brother-in-law. Oh, well, that's very cool. Oh, yeah, I have very recently, and it's in my car still, I bought a portable forge to put in my garden. It's one of these forges for riveting in a shipyard. So it's a Victorian one. It's round and got a bellows underneath, and you've got a handle you crank up and down. So yeah, definitely trying to get back into blacksmithing. I mean, or have a go and see what I can make. You know, make a few hours, maybe a sea axe, and I'd love to try some inlay and get some. I've got some nice bronze wire, so perhaps have a go at inlaying some runes and a blade, but I'm going to have to relearn how to do it, because I've not really done that for many years. Because I did, and I do have a blacksmith workshop, but where it is located, the owner of the landowner doesn't want me to do blacksmithing anymore because it's not environmentally friendly, so I kind of stopped doing that. So, and then at some point when I can get down there and take apart one of my other two forges, because I got 3 forges, I got 2 industrial ones, but I've got to take it apart and get it in my car somehow. I'm going to try to think about bringing one of them back and then store it outside on some plastic tarpaulin, and then in the summertime I can do a little bit of smithing and you know, do a bit of silver work, you know, maybe have a go at doing something like that, and make some axes, and maybe, you know, get a round disc and make a shield boss. So Sam says cowboys would lose one revolver or repeating rifle that would take the same cartridges in a 12 gauge shotgun. You can do everything with those 3. Yeah, I forgot about that really. Thinking about having a rifle and a shotgun would definitely be the course I would go down. I mean, it's great having pistols, you know, but having a shotgun and a rifle, I think, is essential. So I think, yeah, I think a good cowboy would probably have 1 pistol, definitely a shotgun, and definitely a rifle. And I fired quite a few shotguns in my time. And in the UK, you can, and you are allowed to have a pump action shotgun on a shotgun license, which is quite surprising, really. But we are allowed those. And an old friend of mine who I've not seen for many years, called Robbo, who does a little bit of clay pigeon shooting, where, you know, they get the clay pigeon foam in the sky and you go and shoot them. You know, he talks about when he goes to a clay pigeon shoot and he takes his pump action shotgun, and I think it holds like 11 rounds or 9 rounds. So normally, and I've done this where I used to put the clay pigeon in, and, you know, you wait for fire and then you let it go, and you do it again. So, you know, it'll be going like fire, 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 fire 9 times, and the guy loading the clay pigeons will be like struggling to get all the clay pigeons out in that time, because they're just going bang, bang, bang with a pump action shotgun. And I always think that's pretty damn cool. So we've got 3 people watching, so thank you. And we've got some laughing emojis from Sam Stapleton. I saw the other day on the emoji thing that you can actually make your own emojis. But perhaps I'll have a go at making a Viking shield. And then Sam says, if you need help with an axe or the arrowhead, I'll send quite a few. Feel free to ask. Well, yeah, please do. If you send me a message on Facebook and want to send me some arrowheads, that would be really lovely of you. I'll give you a big shout out, and we'll make a video and review them. And then we'll link your channel, and then we'll try to get you a few more subscribers through it. And likewise, when I get my act together and I make something, I'll make you something and send it in return, because, you know, you're going to give me something, I should give you something back. You know, you receive a gift, you should give a gift back, because gifting is such a great thing. So we have a comment here from Shine Your Light. Greetings and glad tidings, with a blue heart. Well, lovely to see you here, Shine Your Light. And I love your YouTube name. That's really good, that is. And of course, you know, light is such a wonderful thing, and of course in the next 90 minutes it will be dark out here and then you won't see me. So yeah, well, we'll keep going. So energy transfer, yeah, definitely, and everything is energy when you think about it. I mean, this drink bottle and the drink is all energy. You know, I'm sitting on a bench, that's energy. So nothing better than some good smoke, a good cup of tea, and sitting around the forge. Yeah, I mean, I used to smoke, but I stopped smoking now, and I do miss it now and again. I mean, I miss the fact that I could sleep, and I miss the fact that it relaxed me, and you know, ever since I've stopped smoking weed, you know, my mental health has gone downhill a bit. But most of the time, I'm up here, you know, I'm on high, and then just now and again, I just get a little bit low, and you know, and I think that's just the world we live in, you know. The perils of heartache and you know, romance is one, and then you know, just the world we live in. But that's a whole entire story. So in Texas, is it decriminalised cannabis in Texas? For medical, or is it both? And then Sam says, are you allowed to have slow grounds for your shotguns over there? I'm not quite sure what that is. Slow rounds, I'll have to look. Perhaps explain it in a comment and I'll read it out. Although I did see a video some time ago where people were cutting into the shotgun shell with a knife and it made more of a big explosion. So that was quite fascinating. And they're called cut rounds, where you just get a knife and you cut into it. And then Shiny Light says, frequencies, vibration, energy light givers, beware of the drainers. Well, yes, as I used to call them, energy vampires. And I think David Icke talks about this a lot, about the fact that, you know, we're all energy and we're all vibrating at various frequencies. And it's a damn shame that, you know, he's been banned from YouTube. But he's, you know, controversial character is David Icke, but I used to like his videos. I find him entertaining and educational, and the guy knew a lot of stuff. Yeah, you know, the bits about talking about how, you know, the royal family are all lizards is a little bit far-fetched. I mean, it'll be horrifying, wasn't it, if all the elites are lizards, and you know, there's a lizard empire deep down in the earth somewhere. But a lot of the things, you know, and you go back many years and you'll see David Icke talking on in videos, and you still find some videos on YouTube, but a lot of the stuff he talked about has come true. And, you know, that's pretty scary, because it shows you the fact that, you know, on many things he was right. But a fascinating and interesting character, and I would have loved to have gone to one of his shows where you had tens of thousands of people watching him, and he's talking about the elites or whatever you're talking about, the pyramids and so forth. But, you know, and I never read any David Icke books. I mean, all my life of buying books and finding books, I've never come across a David Icke book. I mean, not literally, but I never found one to read. And then Shiny Light says, absolutely, he is only allowed to reveal what is told to at the time, and that's true. I mean, that's a really good example of censorship and the world we live in, which is fundamentally censored, because there's certainly there's key subjects which, if you talk about on YouTube, they'll take your video down. I mean, we saw this before the pandemic, when there was lots of videos that was online talking about, you know, vaccines, and all those videos disappeared. Not because there was misinformation, it's because they told you about vaccines and how they're made. But and you know, and there's different forms of censorship, whether it's military forms of censorship, whether it's historical censorship, and that is a thing as well. And I think that'll be a fascinating subject to talk about. And then you get, you know, medical censorship. So we live in a very much a censored world, and that propaganda is all around us, and we're all being controlled and manipulated, you know, especially by the TV and the mobile phone, because they got us in the system by, you know, being stuck in this whole thing. But, you know, being awake and waking up to what's going on in the world is a wonderful path to go down, and I'm certainly classed as one of these people that I would say is awake, you know. And then Shiny Light says people can't get their heads around the programming, and that's certainly very true. I mean, there used to be a guy on YouTube who was an English professor, and he was a very young professor in his 20s who talked about mind control, and he was telling us and showing us documentation from the 1950s how they had the ability to control people through microchips and various different frequencies and different methods. And I've never seen any of his videos ever since. But so mind control and programming is very much a thing, and you know, various governments across the world have done mass programs of you know, programming and control, and we all are controlled, aren't we, really? And as I often say, you know, we're all slaves within the modern world, but we consent into the slavery rather than being forced into the slavery, because we consent by, you know, going to work, we consent by, you know, paying your car tax, we consent by paying your taxes, we consent by obeying all these ridiculous laws which wouldn't really exist. So there's a lot of that going on. And then Shiny Light says, I say rising as a wake is for the dead. Oh, well, I'm trying to think what that means. I'll just look at that again. Yeah, so I definitely, it's definitely good to be awake. Because the thing is, you know, I think we often refer to this time of the world to that time in Germany in the 1930s. And so I'll tell you a little story. So, you know, 1930s Germany, the rise of the Nazi Party, a terrible and disgusting thing of socialism, if that's correct. And, you know, there was an old guy, an old man, you know, he lived on a road. And, you know, and back in those days, people used to sit outside the houses and watch life go past. And he says, I was sitting out there one day, and a load of these men in black shirts came along and arrested a load of people. And then, you know, nobody said anything. You know? Nobody stood up. Nobody spoke up. Nobody said, well, why are you arresting these people? A few days and a few weeks went past, and it happened again. This old man probably had a big white beard, probably wearing a suit, because let's face it, back in those days, people knew how to dress, you know. So it happened again. A load of these men in black shirts and suits came along and took more people off the street. And nobody stood up. And nobody said, you know, that's not right, you shouldn't be taking these people. Nobody said a word. And again, time passed, a few months, and it happened again. The old man, this old wise man, sitting outside of his house, watching life go past. A load of these black cars pulled up. These military type uniform guys got out. True story. You know, went and arrested more people. And because we knew who we was arresting, they was arresting the people that spoke up. They was arresting teachers and philosophers, and of course, even worse, Jewish people. And so, you know, and he said again, nobody said a word. People just stood outside the houses and watched it happen. Nobody said anything. And he said, some time passed. I sat outside my house, this old guy says, and again, these black cars pulled up. And this time they arrested me. And there was nobody left on the street to say anything, because I was the last person there. And I think that should be a warning to the world we live in, to the fact that we have to speak up and we have to defend our rights and defend who we are as free human beings, and not be enslaved to this corrupt elitist system which has been going on from one generation to another. And I know that's a little bit of conspiracy, and I know it's a, you know, but it's a true warning, isn't it? And I think that's very, very important. I couldn't say that word then. And then Shine Your Light says, do not give your energy to the program stroke story, put it out to you. And I think that's very true. You should keep your energy to yourself, because everything is energy in this whole universe, and energy is positivity and negativity. Worship the positive energy and practice goodness and kindness and wake up to what's going on, and we can change the world and we can stop this corruption going on in the world, because we do live in a bad world, I mean, all these blooming wars going on and disease and control. So yeah, so apparently I've earned a badge from BBC Radio Derby, but I don't think I've ever watched anything from them on Facebook. And I'm not a massive Facebook fan, to be fair. And it says, Shiny Light says, the language, the phonics, has been weaponised against us. Well, yes, I definitely agree with you. I mean, language is a bit like, magic, isn't it? Language is magic, fundamentally so. And the words you speak, and especially the legalese, understanding the legalese and understanding the legal words that make us who we are, make us free, is very important. So yes, again, and it's a whole entire subject, and there's no doubt lots of channels talk about this. I've definitely seen channels on TikTok when they talk about, becoming a free man and all of that, and it's fascinating. But again, a lot of it's censored and a lot of it's removed. Because I don't want you to have the power, because when we, the people, have the power, the people that are trying to take that power, well, they're going to lose, aren't they? And they're going to become scared. So, take the power back. And you take the power back by learning language and learning the key words of language, because that's so important. So there's a slight chance I could be going out tonight. A friend of mine popped round last night called Ellie. Is a lady I know from Alistair who I met outside of a charity waste bin. Because I got into the stage last year and this year of going dumpster diving, and I found it a fascinating experience, and I was totally and utterly shocked by what charities and shops throw away. I mean, why would charities throw stuff away which have been donated? I mean, literally to the point where somebody's donated a bag of clothes and they're not even opened those clothes up, they just threw them away. I mean, this top, for instance, this jumper, this hoodie, came out of a charity bin. Nothing wrong with it apart from a bit of bleach staining down there. So yeah. So Sam Stapleton says, I was wondering if you wanted to do a joint live stream about telling a story and about how God took revenge on me when I didn't do what I said when they helped me. Yes, I would actually, yes. I was very close tonight to having the option selected that people could join the live stream, because I would love to try that and definitely do some live streams with you. And I think that would really bounce back, talking about your beliefs and my beliefs, and talking about the Norse gods and the whole world. And I don't think you can select it when you're doing a live stream. But yeah, I would be fascinated in doing that. I'll tell you what, when I'm next doing a live stream, I'll make sure I select the fact that people can join the live stream. And then if you see me doing a live stream and you've got the option, you can just jump on your phone and then just join it. And then Shiny Light says, yep. And then Shiny Light says, e.g. mourning in greeting someone actually means mourning, just as awake is for the dead. Well, yeah, I never really thought about that, really. Then Sam says, and of course, if anybody wants the blue spanner, let me know, and I'll award you the blue spanner of good luck. And then Sam says, they took a life in the story, so it's pretty significant in my life. Well, it definitely sounds it. And I also love to hear that story about when you praise Odin and he taught you a lesson. I've not forgotten about that in the comments, and I've been really urging and wanting to know that story, because it does make you think. I mean, Odin certainly has a way, the All-Father, of teaching you a lesson, but can be quite harsh. And I sometimes think, who's the bigger trickster, Loki or Odin? I think it's probably definitely the All-Father is the bigger trickster. No doubt that's where Loki learnt it from. And then Sam says, I could give a little sneak peek of the story here in the comments if you would like. Well, yeah, please do, and I'll read it out. What's the sound like outside? Let me know if you could do. I mean, hoping I can't say that then. So I'm hoping that the sound's okay. I mean, I'll give you a little bit of a scenery. So I've got a big swimming pool in my garden at the moment. Here's where I've been working up the log where I often film. There, you can just see the wooden club I'm working on the floor behind that green bin. I've got a very disorganised greenhouse. And that's my garden. So, behind the scenes of Northworthy. And perhaps I might do some more of these. I did film about 5 or 6 random gardening videos dressed as a Viking. I might do some more and then just talk about, do some gardening but talk on the channel at the same time. Because I thought those videos were quite good and entertaining. So yes, this is the story I'm talking about when he punished me for not doing what I promised. And then Shiny Light says, Brill. And then Shiny Light says, I'm bringing my bikini. It's gone a bit green, my swimming pool. And I have made a video of how a Viking gets into a swimming pool because I'm a little bit nesh. And if you don't know what the word nesh means, it just means I don't like the cold too much. So I filmed a video talking about this pool, but I've had it for a couple of years but never used it. And but you know, ever since I put it up, we've just not had decent weather. Bloody typical, isn't it? I mean, the gods are not looking after me on this one. So I'm going to do a video where I'm in my swimming trunks with a t-shirt on the top because I'm too embarrassed to show my body off. And then, you know, putting my little foot in the swimming pool going, oh, it's too cold. And then, you know, getting a little bit deeper in, oh, it's cold. So I might, and I did film the second part of that video, but I ran out of memory space on my phone and thusly, just check the battery level, ran out of, well, the film was cool. I've got to do the second part again. So this is the story of Odin's revenge, my wife and daughter, who was very young at the time. I was working in the yard and I left the gate open. Ooh. You've got to be careful leaving your gate open. And with the gate being open early, who is my Cicadia tortoise got out and wife blamed me. So your tortoise escaped. And took it out on me really and bothered me, and I loved him a lot. He was gone for over 2 weeks. So your baby and wife blamed you for your tortoise escaping because you left your gate open. So my shop I work at is a few blocks away, and my buddy said they seen him. He was going in the shop straight to my table. I had prayed to Odin to find him. And when I prayed, I told him that I would do an offering in his name. And when I found him, I did not have the time to do it. And the offering is basically respecting the gods to offer something, you know, when you're asking for something in return. And when I did not follow through with my offering, my daughter had a baby tortoise and a rat got out and had killed him. Oh. The tragedy was that my baby girl saw the tortoise in that condition and really hurt her deeply. Yes, I can understand that, especially when you're at a very young and impressionable age. And it was very gruesome. That was what hurt me the most. Well, yeah, I can imagine that as well. I mean, rats can be very vicious, they really can. I'm not a big fan of rats, but they do make good pets, I heard. But no, I don't like rats. Ugh, horrible creatures. So psychologically messed with my daughter. That was what hurt me the most about the whole thing. So be careful when calling upon the gods. Yeah, I think you have to be careful, and I think Egil will give you that warning to be careful when you praise Odin. And I generally never praise Odin. I mean, I always see Odin as the god of death. So, you know, I'll pray to Thor, or I'll pray to Freya or Frigg, more than what I would ever consider praising Odin. But also, at the same time, I would also probably say a few words for the White Christ as well, because of my Christian background. But it won't do no harm. And then Shiny Light says, Sam, time doesn't really exist as such, and if you think about it, it is just a cruel god indeed. Well, yeah, I mean, like I said, I think Odin is way more tricky than Loki, and you know, everybody thinks, you know, Loki's got a bad reputation, but fundamentally Odin probably has a worse reputation because he's the god of war, isn't he? And you know, and he's way more tricky and way more cunning than Loki is, you know, in himself. I mean, Odin will definitely teach you a lesson if you're not careful. Which is one of the reasons why I never pray to Odin, because I don't want to be taught that lesson. But then again, the amount of times in my past when I've been single and or I've had romance problems and I've prayed to Freya, the goddess of love, you know, she doesn't always deliver either. But I do feel a connection with Thor, because I do feel like he gives me that strength, which is why I wear a Thor's hammer for protection and strength. So, and I think Thor is a very straightforward god compared to some of the others. So Odin says, Sam taught me a lesson, do what you promise, and if you don't, there is consequences. But I think also, you know, not making a promise to a god to do something in return could also stop that from happening. But should you do a promise, and should you give an offering if you're praying to the god? I mean, if I'm praying to Thor, you know, I'll be saying, oh, you know, Thor, give me strength to get through today, or you know, show me the wisdom and the courage to do something. I don't always give him an offering because I don't have an altar. I don't have a statue of Thor I worship it to. So, yeah, but of course, everybody's different. Everybody has their own way. And then he says, Earl is now 10 years old and is huge. He will be the third largest species of tortoise in the world. Oh, wow, that's amazing. I've never owned a pet tortoise. It was crazy. He passed across a highway covered blocks and somehow went to my shop and was going straight to my table. Well, yeah, well, how did you know that? That's really peculiar and really strange. Do they have a sense of smell that they could fundamentally smell where you work? But I have made a Thor and Odin idols, and I do have an altar. Yeah, I'm definitely thinking about making a Thor statue, and if I can get a big enough trunk of wood, and I know where there are some, I can get one. I'm going to have a go at making a Thor statue in my garden, so I can, you know, honour the god Thor. And then Logan Lazar says, I believe Thor is a loving father and a fierce warrior, and I definitely agree with that. I mean, Thor is very straightforward, and I think, you know, and I love that about Thor. There's no messing about with Thor. He tells it as it is, as it is, and I think that's an important thing about Thor and his character. Whereas the All-Father, well, he's very tricky, isn't he? So be careful who you worship. So I had asked an older woman that owns one of the wool, and she asked if IP where I work, and I said yes, and she said you'll probably smold you. Well, yeah, I think that could be true. That's what I was thinking, that the tortoise has, you know, has a sense of smell, and therefore that's how you honed to where you work. That makes so much sense to me, because animals do have a really good sense of smell compared to human beings. I mean, just talk about the sense of smell that dogs have is incredible. I mean, it makes you think how much we smell. You know, is it even 1% or 5% of what's around us? And of course, some people do have a better sense of smell than other people, which is also fascinating. But yeah, well, thank you for sharing that story. I think definitely talk about it in a live stream together, and you know, it will make a good story as well, a good warning folk tale. We could call it Sam and the Tortoise. I used to have a stuffed tortoise in my house with my dad's. But when I met my girlfriend, I gave it to her. So I think she's probably lost it, I don't know. Another story. And then Sam says, I'll have him in the live stream as well, so you could see him. Oh, that'd be brilliant. You know, I've never had a tortoise in the live stream before. But yeah, fascinating creatures. And it reminds me of a folk tale called The Fox and the Tortoise. I'll tell it. So a long time ago, you know, in those medieval times, you know, there was a fox, and he was very hungry. You know, all day he's been going around looking for food. You know, he saw some rabbits and some hares, and he tried to chase them, and, you know, they got away and ran down the hole. He saw a deer, but it was too big, and the deer ran away. He saw some birds in a wood, and the birds flew off. And he saw a squirrel, and the fox, being the fox, tried to run after the squirrel. But the squirrel, you know, ran up a tree and, you know, threw some nuts at the fox and said, take that, you're not eating me today, Mr. Fox. And then, you know, he saw a badger, and the badger ran off. He went to an old place where there was a village, and he knew where there were some chickens in a pen. And he managed to get quite close up, but then a man, a Saxon or a Viking, saw him and chased him off. Now this, you know, fox was getting very hungry. I'm sure you agree, you know, foxes have got to eat. Not like today when they get burgers and kebabs left over from the night before. And so the fox, you know, he was going along, and he came to a river. And on the bank of the river, he saw the creature he'd never seen before. He thought, hey, oh, what's this? I've not seen one of these before. And so he got down low, and he started to, you know, crawl towards the river. And this creature, which was, of course, a tortoise or a turtle, could be either. And so the fox managed to jump on the turtle and managed to, you know, grab the turtle. But the turtle, being very wise, the tortoise, let's call it a tortoise. The tortoise, being very wise, put his little legs in the show and his head. And the fox thought, whoa, what's going on here? This is a little bit strange. I've never seen an animal do this before, you know. He kept on trying to bite the show with his jaws and his teeth, but he was too tough. He managed to get it in his teeth and bang it on the ground a few times. Come out, Mr. Tortoise, come out, I want to eat you. But the tortoise would not come out. He was hiding in his show. I would too if I was being attacked by a fox and I was a tortoise. You know, he thought, well, you know, he dragged him along the ground by the beach, by the river a few times. Let's see if I can drag him out. You know, he barks at him, and the tortoise would not come out of the show. He thought, I know what, I'm going to get a big stick and keep whacking the show with a stick and see if I can break it. This is what the fox did. He went off. There's a tree over there with some branches on the floor. He thought, oh, this is a lovely branch. He got it in his mouth and ran back, his little 4 legs going, and started whacking the tortoise with the stick. But again, the tortoise, being wise and being very clever, which they are, stayed in the show. And the fox was getting very frustrated. I know how that feels. And so, you know, he sat down for a bit, pondering and thinking, well, how can I get this creature out of this shelly thing? And then the tortoise popped his little legs and his little head out of the show and said, hello, I'm a tortoise. You've been trying to eat me. And the fox was too far away. You know, the fox tried to run up on him, but the tortoise put his head back in and his legs in the show. A few minutes later, the fox went back to where he was sitting, probably sunbathing for a bit, pondering how he could eat this tortoise and get into the show. And the tortoise popped his head out again and said, hello again. Hello, Mr. Fox. You want to eat me, do you? Do you want me for your dinner? And the fox said, well, yes, I do. You look so tasty. I said, I want to eat you. Will you come out your show and stay there? And the tortoise says, well, no, I'm not doing that. Every time you come near to me, I'm going to go and hide again. But I tell you what, he says, I'll tell you a little secret about tortoise. If you pick me up and put me in that water over there, the little river, it wasn't a fast flowing river, it was quite still. He said, what happened? He said, the shell goes all soft. And then you better bite the shell and break the shell and eat me. Ah, well, the tortoise, you know, smiling at him. And the fox went, oh, that sounds like a cunning plan. Perhaps the fox was called Baldric. I don't know. Normally they're called, what do they normally call foxes? Reynard is what they normally call them in the folk tales. So the fox thought about it for a little bit and he says, okay, I will pick you up and I'll put you in the water over there. And then, after a few minutes, when your shell is nice and soft, I'm going to eat you and bite your shell and break it. And so this is what he did. The tortoise agreed to be picked up, and as soon as the fox got close, the tortoise put his head back in the shell and his 4 little legs, and then the fox picked him up and carried him over to the water. But what do you think happened? Do you think the shell got soft? Do you think the fox managed to break the shell? No, not on your Nelly. This is an old saying. The tortoise was in deep enough water he could swim away. And he got to the bit of a river which was quite deep and too deep for the fox. And he says, pops his little head out, you know, he already had his head out, to be fair, little legs. And he said, you may be clever, Mr. Fox, but I think you'll find that I am cleverer than you. And the tortoise got away and was not eaten by a fox that day. And the fox, well, he went hungry and had no food that day and was outsmartened by a tortoise. This is the story of the fox and the tortoise. I have recorded it for the channel and at some point I will publish it. And it does remind me of another tortoise story, if you want me to tell it to you, called The Tortoise and the Devil. Because I love a good folk tale. So if you'd love me to tell you the story of The Tortoise and the Devil, let me know. So going back to the comments, because I love reading your comments on a live stream, because I see so many people do live streams, but they don't take the time to read the comments, and fair enough, if you've got 10,000 people watching or 500, the comments go that quickly up, you can't even possibly get to read them all and slow it down. And so it's always a privilege, and really is, from my point of view, a pleasure to read your comments, because it is not just my channel at Northworthy, it is your channel, and you being here now, it is also your journey. So Sam says, and he says, just give me a second. Yeah, he says, he got quite famous through the story. I had called pet stores, thought somebody stole them and put lost posters up. Oh yeah, I imagine he's got a legendary reputation now as the lost tortoise that was found, and half the town was looking for him. He got quite famous, which I think is brilliant. I have poison dart frogs, fish, dogs, cats, ducks, chickens, dogs, rabbits, keys, hedgehogs. Oh, I didn't know you get hedgehogs in Texas. Pythons and rats. I find the companionship of animals more to my liking. They don't try to take your job. They don't try to sleep with your wife. And always are so happy to see me. Well, yeah, you're talking about that in some of the comments, how it's such a great thing when you get back from work and your animals greet you. And in my family, we had a lot of cats over the years. We had a cat called Charlie. He was a massive ginger cat, and he didn't like anybody apart from me, and he slept on my bed for years and years and years until he got to about 17 years old when he passed away. And I really do miss having a cat. And I know when Eggle was alive, he used to talk about how he would love to have a dog, but where he lived in a flat, he was never allowed to have an animal or a pet. And it kind of broke his little heart a little bit, because he really wanted that companionship. And whenever I used to take him out to the pub and he would see, a dog, his little face would light up. And he'd say, "Look at that, a little dog." But then again, that also happened when he saw women as well. He would go, "Oh, she's nice." And I can just picture Eggle's face, Simon or Si to his friends, his big beaming smile and his moustache at seeing a dog. But he had the opposite, affection when it came to like people, especially men in shorts. If he sees a man wearing shorts, he'll go, "Oh God, that shouldn't be right. That's not allowed. That." And at some point in the future, because I got a few videos when I had him doing some comical ranting outside of a pub, I'm going to publish them. And then Logan Lazar says, "Awesome." Well, thank you, because it's always amazing with a folk tale how you can, learn a folk tale, but yet record it and remember it. Because I find that to be a wonderful and amazing gift. It really is. And I could literally, I think we'll all do a live stream. We're going to see how many folk tales in one live stream, 4 or 5 hours I can actually tell. I mean, I reckon probably about 20 at least. And we can go for some more and see if we can tell more on that. I'm just talking about quantity. I'm also building up to do a ridiculous video when it comes to medieval and Norse weapons. I've got to get a little bit organised on it, but I'm going to see how many weapons I can actually carry, as a Norse and Viking warrior. And I kind of got to the point in my mind thinking about it where I got to the figure of 27 at the moment. Can I possibly carry 27 weapons as a Norse warrior? Would you like me to film that video? Because I think that will be a fascinating video. It's going to take a little bit of organising with and getting my weapons out and ready. So I'm going to have to think about it. And, can I even carry more weapons on that? Can I carry 30 weapons or 33 weapons? Oh, that would be a magical number. So I'm definitely going to film that at some point, and perhaps I might do it as a comical video for 10,000 subs. And I have very recently recorded a video for the 10,000 subscriber milestone, and I am planning, everything goes to plan, to go and film at a couple of locations, and there'll be a little bit of a bonus and location. for the channel for 10,000 subscribers. So a little bit of an exclusive, and I'll probably mentioned that before on one of the previous live streams, but yeah, because I want to do something a little bit special and something a little bit different and do a little bit more of an epic video for 10,000 subs, which is an amazing achievement. But considering that, you know, I think only 35% of our total audience is subscribed to the channel, so there's 65% of people that watch videos from us are not subscribed. So please do make sure that you are subscribed. And then Sam Stapleton says, yes, love the stories. And I love the stories. I love the folk tales. In fact, when I was outside, I think last week, I did a few videos at this time of night. And oh, Shiny Light says, oh, can I come, Braggy? Your partner in crime? Of course you can, Ellie. Of course you can. You want to ever appear on the channel and be in a live stream talking about things, then you're more than welcome. And if you're popping over, let me know and we'll open up the door and we'll start another live stream and we can chat about the random things in life, because I think you've got a lot to say to the world, and without getting too emotional, because I do suffer terribly from empathy. And, you know, at times when I think about things and I start talking about things, I really do bottle it up inside and it kind of comes out. So I do really, you know, love you to bits. Let me see it there. Yeah, sorry. And, you know, some days I think, you know, having too much empathy you know, it's a blessing, but it can be a curse as well. And, you know, and I've been going through something in my life at the moment, you know, which is not the nicest thing I've been going through. And, you know, you've been wonderful to me, and, you know, and again. And it makes you think, you know, how old empathy is as well, you know, because I think empathy, and I can't really imagine what it's like to not have empathy. I mean, I pity those people really that are so cold-hearted that they don't have any empathy. I really do pity them. So yeah, I mean, it makes you think how old it is. Like I said, I met Shiny Light outside of a charity bin because I'm very friendly and I always go up to people, and I pulled up in my little car and my car was like loaded with stuff I found because I've been out on an adventure, and I said, oh, you know, are you dumpster diving? And you know, she had a little, you know, I think you're probably wearing your face hoodie, but I could tell you had a massive shining smile. And you know, we both looked in the bin and just saying, "Oh, you know, you know, well, do you want this and do you want that?" Yeah. So we are blessed. We are blessed. And yeah, you are my partner in crime when it comes to having adventures. And I think we should definitely go and have some adventures. And perhaps for the 10,000 subscriber video, perhaps you should join me on that. We're just dressed as normal people, and because I think you got a wonderful story to tell, and you got a lot of knowledge, and you know, and it weren't for people like yourself, and you know, my neighbours Mick and Maureen, they live down there, and people like Eric, but also you guys, you know, like Sam, and you know, all you guys, you're just wonderful, and you know, I really am blessed to have you in my life. And then Shiny Light says, oh, you deserve it, Braggy. You're 1 in 10 trillion. You're Shiny Light in the darkest of areas. And then Sam says, I'll have to award you, Shiny Light, the blue spanner of good luck. And you're able to talk it through with your loved ones. Yeah, I mean... yeah, it's been a challenge, but I don't want to say too much because you know, I kind of made a promise. But and I often say to myself, I'm a right catch, and what I mean by that is that, I'm a wonderful individual, and whoever, marries me and settles down with me is going to be very lucky. And I'm definitely going to come to Texas because, at some point in the future, my life is changing, and, I better say to myself, well, right, what am I doing next week, Blaggy? Oh, well, let's just get on a plane and go to Texas. And that's not going to be a problem for me. So, yeah, so you're going to have to put me up, Sam, and introduce me to all your pets and your tortoise, and we'll do some Viking things and tell some stories. I'd love to go to the Alamo. I know a lovely song by Donovan, the singer, about the Alamo. Yeah. Whoops, Santiana. Do 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 do. Do 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 do. We remember the Alamo. One of my favourite UK folk singers from the 1960s is Donovan. In fact, when I did American Civil War, I used to sing a song called Universal Soldier, and people would always get me in a pub and say, oh, Andy, come and sing Universal Soldier. And the amount of times I've been in a pub and there'd be like 200 people just sat there in silence whilst I sing this song, and that was sort of a blessing and a wonderful time in my life. And it's not that because I was hanging about with some really good friends of mine, an old friend of mine called Smokey, and I keep meaning to perhaps find some of my photographs of Smokey and do a little tribute video to him, because he was such a big influence in my early adult life, and the amount of things we used to get up to on camp, and some really good stories. And then he used to hang about with a guy called Moses, and we called him Moses because all he did was preach at us, so that's how he got his nickname. So that's why we called him Moses, because he did nothing but preaching, not in the in the Bible sense, but just preaching about anything he wanted to talk about and moan about. And then later on we met a guy at a Civil War dance who wanted to join up, and he had no friends, so we called him Lonely, and then Lonely joined us. There was like 4 of us, and then Mark, of course, we used to call him Buttons. Yeah, that was his nickname, mainly because of the uniform we wore. And we got some laughing emojis. I keep meaning to go online and buy a dictionary of emojis, because emojis do confuse me. I'm thinking, what's that emoji mean? What does this emoji mean? I mean, everybody knows a smiley face and everybody knows a laughing emoji, but what a wonderful language. And Shining Light says, oh, shine your light. Oh yes, sounds good, Braggy. And then Sam says, you're a great man. Well, thank you very much. I mean, I do try. I'm not perfect, I'm a bit stubborn, and I'm a bit set in my ways, and to a certain degree, but I do try, and I try every day to be nice to people, which I think is a wonderful thing if you can be nice and not surround yourself with negative, nasty people, because people like that will just drain your energy. And as I call them, energy vampires. We all think about vampires sucking your blood, don't we? There's old Dracula coming along, flapping his little wings, lands on some fair maiden's neck, probably a virgin, and then sucks the blood to death and she becomes a vampire. But we also have energy vampires, people that will drain your energy. And some of these people don't know they're doing it. And then Sam says, remember, you have a place to stay here. Well, that's brilliant. I'll definitely take you up on that. I mean, I don't think I'm going to have a problem getting into America with a conviction for growing cannabis. Sorry, I did get arrested 2 years back. But, long story. But I don't think that should be a problem. That's when I used to self-medicate. It's not something I like to talk about on the channel, really, because nobody that ever smoked cannabis really wants to, tell people in the world that they do that. But that's also part of my journey of, you know, exploring that. And yes, when I did go to court about it, the magistrate did say to me, said, "No doubt, sir, you have very good green fingers. Perhaps you should concentrate on growing some veg." And yeah, I had a lovely magistrate and a lovely solicitor who I'm really thankful for. You know, and I'm probably one of the only few people that go to court and wanted to be convicted and wanted to be punished. Because you have to take responsibility for your actions in life. And I can't stress that enough. Because if you take responsibility for your actions, then, you know, you're fundamentally doing the right thing, aren't we? And that's what about life, isn't it? Doing the right thing. And, you know, and thank you for your advice last night, Ellie. And that definitely made me do the right thing. And you know, in my life, because I don't have many friends, I often find myself just sat there on my own, not knowing what to do, because who do I turn to? You know, so it's great that I got these very few people, but I surround myself with wonderful, lovely people, and I'm so blessed to have that in life. And then Shiny Light says, absolutely, green fingers. Oh yes. Yeah, I definitely want to explore growing veg. I'm not a massive veg eater, I must say. You know, my neighbours Mick and Maureen always laugh about it. You know, if we invite you around for dinner, you won't be wanting salad, would you? I said, oh no, just give me the meat. Let's have the salad. Well, I do like some veg, but I think that's a throwback to my childhood, when my mother used to make me eat food I didn't like new potatoes. I used to hate them. Oh, and you know, broccoli, couldn't eat that. And so I think as a child, being forced to eat things, you know, has had that effect on my adult life, where, you know, it's like tomatoes. You know, it sounds ridiculous, but, you know, if you said to me, you know, all right, Braggy, Andy, it's £1 million here. If you eat a tomato, you're gonna have £1 million. You know, I'm most probably going to say, no, it's all right. I think you can just keep your £1 million, and I will not have to put up with eating a tomato. Same with Brussels sprouts. You know, if you said, oh, you know, there's 10 grand if you eat a Brussels sprout, you know, on Christmas Day. No, it's all right. It's like a mini cabbage. You know, no. But I am funny with food, because, you know, when you go to a Chinese and you get the dish of seaweed, well, that's just cut up cabbage, isn't it? And it's fried. I like that. That's nice. I can eat that. And talking about tomatoes, and, you know, I probably mentioned this loads on the channel. You know, I love tomato sauce. Yeah, I love it. You know, and I love tomato soup. But there's no part of me that could bring myself forward to eat a tomato. You know, it's the old shape of it, the old look of it. You know, I often referred to these vegetables as the children of Loki, because I think, you know, or the devil perhaps, because, you know, Loki's going about inventing horses and big wolves, and of course the Jormungandr, the walled serpent. I've got no doubt in my mind he's probably made some evil veg as well. So, you know, I think the tomato and the Brussels sprout is the work of Loki, and they're the unforgotten and lost children of Loki. Or maybe the devil, because I think Loki and the devil are very similar, aren't they? But yeah, and it says, don't count things out until you try in a few different ways, or even make it yourself. And I think that's true. So when it comes to, you know, especially in English cooking, we just like to get some boiling water and chuck it in the boiling water, so it's very bland. But certainly, you know, no doubt some genius cook, you know, in somewhere in the world would get a tomato and fry it, and it would make it. Oh look, I'm giving you the blue spanner. Congratulations! Yay! Another blue spanner on the channel. So no doubt, you know, yeah. I mean, onions. I'm not a particular fan of onions. I mean, I remember the days, you know, in the 1980s and 90s when my mum used to make braised steak, and there'd always be onions in the gravy, and my mum had to get my gravy and sieve it through a sieve so I didn't get the onions. But if I go to McDonald's and the onions are finely chopped, I don't mind that. And if you get some finely nice chopped onions and you fry them to the crispy, yeah, that's okay as well in my books. But if you get me a raw onion, I mean, I wouldn't have made a very good reenactor in the past if you just give me some bread and cheese and onion. I'd eat the cheese and I'd eat the bread, and I'd probably give the onion away. Perhaps trade it for a bit of, French stick or something. Hey up, mate, do you want another onion for your loaf of bread? And he says, Sam Stapleton says, fellow grower as well, there. Are we a kindred spirit? We are indeed. And, I did it outside in the garden, and I was just blessed with good weather, and the gods shined down on me, and it got very, very tall, and, I had too much of it and didn't know what to do with it. So I was having it in tea, I had it in gravy, you don't know what gravy is, so I had it on my burgers, I had it in, if I could eat it, I did. And it did get me through a stage in my life when I was really struggling, and I slept like a log, and my sleep was consistent. But now that I don't smoke and I don't partake in the magical herb, my sleep is completely messed up. I could be waking up at 10 o'clock at night and starting my day. I could be starting at 3 in the morning. I could be starting at 2 in the afternoon. I got no regular pattern, and I can't. At the moment I'm waking up around about 6 o'clock in the morning. Today I was a bit more tired, got up at 8 o'clock, but I can't regulate it. So if I have a bad night tonight and I can't sleep, and I get up tomorrow at 11 o'clock, then it'll be a bit later the day after, and so my sleep goes through all these little stages. And of course, when you're deprived of sleep, and on average I don't get a lot of sleep, I get 5 or 6 hours on a good night, and then now and again I will get a much longer sleep. It's just very difficult to regulate it, and I kind of got no faith when it comes to doctors, because they're just going to give you some tablets and tell you to bug them off, come back in 6 months for a medicine review. But that's just treatment, it's not cure, is it? So my horse is the magical mystery unicorn. I don't really know many stories about unicorns. I'll have to have a think about that. I don't think we've ever told a unicorn folktale on the channel. And then Sam says, you grow it or raise it. No one has the right to tell you can or can't. Well, no. I mean, that's one of the things when people was anti-cannabis. I would say to them, are you a Christian? And they say, oh yeah. Well, don't you understand that in the Bible, God tells us that we should use all plants at seed, and that's true. So it's just been demonized by the elites, and it's wrong, because, and especially in America, I mean, how many people have had their lives ruined and put in prison just because of a bit of herb and a bit of plant? And then Sam said, Shiny Light says, onion. Well, back in the day, when on the channel we had Tetto Sagas, and I was telling a few riddles, Anglo-Saxon riddles, the catchphrase onion, which reminds me, was a phrase on the channel. And at one point, Thomas of Dale gave me an onion, and we had a pet onion, an onion mascot. He lived on the channel for quite a few months. You'll see him recording Thomas the Onion, I think, and so we had this mascot of an onion on the channel. But if you go back to some of the old videos, you'll just see random comments where people were just going onion, because it came a catchphrase. And now I think about it, I must remember to put it on some t-shirts. We'll have Northworthy, and we'll just say onion. That'll really confuse people. I love confusing people. And then Shiny Light says, it's okay, guys, I never tire from eating tomatoes, any kind. And there are lots of different kinds of tomatoes, but I just think I'll stick to tomato soup and tomato sauce. I mean, there's nothing worse. I find if you go to, like I gone to McDonald's or Burger King, and you get a cheeseburger and it's got a tomato on it, or a fried breakfast. That can really ruin a burger for me. I mean, you know, or a fried breakfast. I like trying to push it away from the sausage and the bacon. Oh, go away on tomato. You know, even to the point where I got I mean, I think one time I got a deluxe a deluxe Big Mac, and it had an onion in it. I just could not bring myself to eat it because of the very fact there was an onion in my burger. Oh, you know, I went bad. Oh, bloody McDonald's sending them on delivery, putting a bloody tomato in it. But that just makes me me. I'm Andy. And then Shine Your Light says, onion goes exceptionally well with tomatoes. Well, it sure does. I mean, no doubt I've had them on camp before. We've had a big stew and there's been, you know, tomatoes in there. But, you know, I'm always trying to push out the things I don't want to eat. And then Sam Stapleton says, fried green tomatoes are real big here in Texas. And of course, yeah, there's also that website called Fried Green Tomatoes for rating films. But is it as good as the Internet Movie Database? I don't know. It's always surprising when I ever wear a necklace how much it starts to ache my neck. Random comment of the day. It said the tomatoes are from some species of poisonous vine that grows and is deadly. Deadly nightshade, I believe. Yeah, I think I read that before. And then I watched the movie the other day called Heretic, and there was a scene in it where a woman, I'm not going to say too much to give it away, spoiler alert, watch out for North Worthy spoilers. So I watched the film with Hugh Grant, and he's a brilliant actor, is Hugh Grant. And there's a scene in it where a woman was eating a pie, and for some reason, I'm not going to tell you why, because I don't want to give it away, but there was deadly nightshade in it. And then I'm not a massive fan of romantic movies, but one of my most favourite romantic movies with you know, rom-coms is with Hugh Grant is Notting Hill. Yeah, I can remember the first time I watched it coming back from America in 2001 after I've been reenacting the 137th battle reenactment of Gettysburg, and you know, I thought, oh, just putting a rom-com on, oh, I'll give it a go, and really enjoyed it. And whenever I see it on, you know, any TV program, I always watch it, and not only because Julia Roberts is really sexy and cute, even today when she's a bit older. I mean, back in the day when she was in Pretty Woman, she was in Notting Hill, and then the one about the lawyer, which I watched the other day by chance. So I've forgotten the name of it. I literally watched it about 3 or 4 days ago. But you know, back in the day, she was, and she still is, super cute. But what's that film called? Evan something Rick, isn't it? I forget now. Erin. First name's Erin. It's in them. It's in my head somewhere, but I've just got to get it out. And then Sam Stapleton says, yes, me as well with the sleep. Yeah, I mean, I never had any sleep problems when I smoked, but nah, it's just terrible. You know, and then my mood goes like that. I never had that. I never had suicidal thoughts when I smoked cannabis, but, you know, because of all the trauma I've been through in the last 5 years, I had. But, you know, I was quite accepting of it. I mean, don't get me wrong, I wasn't going to go and kill myself. It's just that it was just a natural thing to go through when my dad died. I just took it a part of the natural part of the journey because I just felt so low, and that is how I felt. Yes, yeah, Erin Brockonovic. It's a really good film, actually. Because I was watching an episode of on Prime of Highway to Heaven, and there was at a water plant, and they had all these lakes and all these birds were dying, and then the guy who plays the angel, again I can't remember his name, it's there in my head somewhere, or maybe down my leg, depending on what your belief system is when it comes to memory. It reminded me of that film, and I thought, oh yeah, I wonder if it's on Amazon Prime. So I had a look, and it was. So I watched it, and then Sam says, "Yeah, I was one of those. What in jail for that?" Yeah, I mean it's shocking, really. I mean a lot of that's got to do with, I think, with not George Bush, one of Reagan's wife. She was really anti, drug, wasn't she? And so it was her campaign. But I mean, how many lives did that ruin? And I mean, now look, I mean, it's legalised in so many states. I don't know why I've got a random T-shirt out here. That's ruined. I'll throw that out there. Deal with it another day. So we'll have to go indoors in a minute because it's getting a bit cold. I could put my hoodie up over my hat. Yeah. But it has gone a bit cold in the UK. We've had all this lovely dry weather, and for weeks and weeks and weeks, I get seeing Mick and Maureen, so I'm getting fed up with this dry weather. Not getting no rain at all, and that is completely miserable. I knew that would happen. I mean, by the gods, we moan about dry weather, and then we get too much rain. But it's good for the farmers. So it's a blessing, isn't it? Oh, we've been live streaming for 2 hours. Let's just check the battery level. 71%. Oh, I reckon I can keep going for a few more hours yet. So Shine Your Light says, wicked film, but spoiler alert, she isn't he. Oh, so he wasn't a solicitor, so it was a man in real life and not a woman. So Erin Brockovich is actually a man. Oh, I did not know that. I've always assumed that it was actually a woman. But then again, it'll be a bit boring. It was, somebody else and not Julia Roberts. So I definitely approve of the change of that. And it is a good film. And I like the older guy, the older lawyer. He's good. I don't know his name as an actor. But, yeah, brilliant film, that is. If you've never seen it, definitely recommend it. I don't know where it'll be in my top 100. Maybe 93. There's another random comment of the day. That could be a live stream. Broggy's top 100 films. It'll take me a few months to figure it out like that. There'll be definitely some films within it, like the Blues Brothers. That'll be probably in my top 10. Bronson, that's another good film. If you've never seen the film Bronson, about the prisoner Charles Bronson. Because I used to know a guy called Dave Courtney, and at one point I kind of got on board of the campaign to free and release Charles Bronson, Britain's the longest and most dangerous and violent prisoner we've got. I wonder what other films will be in there. And Shiny Light says, Chilly Willy. Oh yes, it's getting a bit cold. That's where I should don my Viking kit. I'll be warm again. Because Viking clothing is so much warmer. Which is why I'm folding my arms. Because I think that's a very old thing. When you're cold, you fold your arms. And then you're warm, aren't you? But And then Shiny Light says, what farmers, most of the fields are full of solar panels. Yeah, but that's a part of the, you know, the system to stop us from having independence when it comes to food. You know, and let's face it, you know, when there's no more bloody farmers left and they can't bloody grow crops, we can't exactly go and eat solar panels, can we? But you'll be able to charge your phone, so don't worry. You know, you can starve to death, but at least you can do it at the end of your phone. Oh look, why has Braggy got a lost 3 stone? Because the farmer can't produce food, but I can still live stream as a skeleton human. And Shiny Light says nope, and Shiny Light says yep. Yeah. Luckily, around me the neighbours are far away because I've got a loud voice. I can't help it. You know, they'll be going, oh, what's all that talking going on? If I'm not careful, I'll crack open my other bottle of orange, whatever it is, full of chemicals probably. Let's have a look. What's it full of? Because of course, when you buy something, the more ingredient it's got on the list, the worse it is for you. So they say. Yeah. Has it got anything I don't want? Oh my god! I've just noticed what's in here. It's got aspartame in it. That's evil stuff. That is. Why am I drinking it? It's got aspartame. Even too much of that will turn you blind. So, and then Shiny Light says, what they're growing now these days? Well, sunlight, aren't they? Solar panels. And then Sam Stapleton says, my favourite Viking movie is The 13th Warrior. Yeah, that's a really good film. And I was thinking the other day about how I could write a copyright issue under fair use, you know, download a few of these films and get some of the combat scenes, the battle scenes, and then do a narration and talk about them to add more content, you know, more, you know, more quality to that little scene and talk about it. But I've got to think about that. But The 13th Warrior, that's a really good film. Although the sword he goes and mates is a little bit weird, isn't it? I think it's curved. But I was thinking the other day, what's that film, the Viking film about the slave? And he gets captured as a slave, and then in the end of the movie he has to go and fight in like a valley in Iceland. He goes and fights some Christians. Oh, have you never seen The 13th Warrior? I've probably got it on DVD about 10 times. Through all the DVDs I've got out of charity bins. Oh, not a DVD. Oh, another DVD. Oh, a DVD. Another DVD. But I was trying to think of that film, what it's called. You know the one, don't you, Sam? Where the guy's like a slave, and he's a fight. They get him fighting, and he goes and fight all these dudes and wins and makes some coin. But I can't, for the love of me, remember the name of the film. Just get some more aspartame down me, because, you know, I don't have enough yet to go blind. Right, we're going to fence you inside, so just bear with me. This is going to be interesting. This is definitely going to be interesting, but we can do it. We can do it. Oh, look, I left the light on as well. Oh my god! What a waste of electricity! I'll be in shock later on. Ah, chipped over chainmail. Just bear with me while I sort my camera out. But it's not been a bad day. Yeah, light reflection. Unscrew this. Yeah, the orangey drink is flat, but actually I prefer it flat than fizzy, to be fair. We'll just change the camera light angle. Oh, there we go. I'm next to a shield now. You tell I'm a Viking if you've got a shield on your wall. It's a shield on your wall. With the reflection of a camera, a light in front of me because I got my bright shining light. Oh, it's a spooky camera shadow. If it starts moving, will you tell me? But it's going to attack me. I've got another light. Hang on a minute. Hang on. Right, let's try that. There we go. I'm using the glow lamp. I'll tell you what, a glow lamp is a bloody good source of light for your film studio. Only got it at a car boot last year for 20 quid. And I checked, it was like £200 brand new. But yeah. Oh yes, I did appreciate this book you found me, the making YouTube videos, because I definitely need to read this and learn how to make videos.